Wake up, wake up. The draft is over. It's time to talk about it. Let's go. Damon's back from Japan. Wake up.
Konnichiwa. Oh my goodness. It is great to be back. Wake up indeed. It is, oh my God, where are we already? Monday, April 28th. And like you said, Larry, the big moment that is the NFL draft, the huge gathering that came together in Green Bay. It was a hell of a draft. I mean, it was kind of everything you would want in an NFL draft, including the societal experiment that Shedeur Sanders' drop sort of represented. We got an awful lot to talk about that, but it is great to be back. Couldn't help but notice while I am in the air flying back, we got Hoosiers coming off the board, coming to the 49ers. Wow. So lots to talk about there. I'm very excited about one and admittedly a little bit less excited about the other, but still a very good pickup for the 49ers. And if I may, Larry, let me start with a compliment. You and Kevin absolutely crushed this draft. This is my first ever draft on YouTube. I couldn't pick up ESPN or NFL Network. It was not available in Japan. So I watched an awful lot following online, looking at reaction videos. Bravo to you and Kevin. Did a hell of a job, brother. You really, really did. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of Kevin. I'm proud of Dieter. I'm proud of Hutch. You guys did great shows together. I thought that Guy Haberman had himself a hell of an NFL draft. I'm a fan of Steph Sanchez now. She had a good NFL draft. Matt Mayoko, Brad Graham, Lund, Crocky, a lot of the guys who are in this crazy little YouTube universe of ours did some really, really good work this past weekend. And it was valuable to me because I was cut off from the normal ways we watch the draft. So I kind of had a really interesting perspective. That's what Japan was. That trip is all about getting new perspective. Well, I got new draft perspective and great job, man. I'm serious. I'm really, really proud of the work that I saw across YouTube covering this draft.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, it was a lot of work. It was a lot of fun, but you know what? We enjoyed it. Hope everybody enjoyed it. All we really did was just go live after every pick, and but yeah, it was a lot of fun, and felt like it did a good job covering it. Didn't spend any time in the facility, sitting in the media room. Which I'm really happy about, and still feel like we really covered it. I always really prefer to be anywhere but that I'm covering anything. But in this situation, it's like, hey, you know what? I'd rather be in my studio, being able to fire away efficiently and quickly, and Kev, of course, and I take different perspectives on the players, so. We didn't plan it. We didn't say, hey, I'm going to say this, you're going to say that. Who do you like? Who do you not like? We just kind of organically did it. And I was so consumed with producing content this weekend that, unlike you, I didn't see anybody else's content. So right. I'll have to check that out the next couple of days.
Well, one of the coolest It's a Small World After All things ever happened to me in Japan. I'll be talking a lot more about the Japan trip on the show that I'll do on my own channel starting a little bit later on this afternoon. But Larry, I'm in Kyoto. I'm grabbing a beer with Jillian, and sitting across the restaurant, this guy says, "Are you Damon Bruce?" Yeah. Hi. He's like, "I'm a huge fan." He's like, "I watch you and Larry on Wake Up all the time." His name was Mr. Wright. What was it? Julian Wright. Julian Wright from Bend, Oregon. I got recognized in Japan because of what we're doing right here. And,
wow.
there's times where I'll look, I'm always going to miss the radio. I love the radio. I love being on the radio. But, dude, that doesn't happen if we're just on the radio. This guy found you and me on the radio years ago doing Niner pre and post game. He used to live in the Bay Area, so he was a KNBR listener, but he and his family moved to Bend, Oregon, And he found you on YouTube years ago and then found me on YouTube through the shows that you and I do together. A huge fan of Wake Up. So hello, Julian Wright in Bend, Oregon. I cannot believe our paths crossed in Japan. It was incredible, man. So it's a small world after all. And it's
the power of YouTube, huh? Look at that.
It was amazing. I could not believe it. Jillian was impressed. It's hard. I can't impress my wife with very much these days, but she was like, holy shit, that just happened. I was like, yeah, that was incredible. And so, look, it was
worldwide fans.
It was global, baby. I mean, we're importing them to Japan. We have to import our fan. Not a single person of Japanese descent came up to me and said, huge fan. But the guy from Bend, Oregon, who was vacationing there did that. And that was very, very cool. So look, beyond all that, we got an awful lot to talk about. But man, you and I did something that I thought was really interesting. The Friday before,
what did we do?
The Friday before we left, Larry. And look, we got a lot wrong in this draft, right? We got a lot wrong. But boy, we got something right too. And what we both agreed was the best mock draft we did. You set the parameters. We worked off the Robotech, not Robotech, but Draft Tech. Sorry, I was just in Japan. I'm thinking Robotech. We use the Draft Tech parameters of their first 32 prospects are the first round. So you can't take any of these names later than that. And we basically did the draft backwards. Do you remember at all how that show started?
No.
Okay.
I don't. Okay. I don't. Refresh me.
I'm glad you don't, because I'm not saying, good audience, that you're watching two of the smartest cats doing this, but let me show you what we did.
Yeah, what do we do?
This is going to be Inception, by the way. This is going to be us looking at us in boxes and boxes and boxes. But let me just share something. We both agreed the way that we did it, we couldn't move guys past where they were slotted, and it was a very good exercise. Let me just share this quickly, Larry. This is you and me starting the draft. Well, I'll let the tape speak for itself. Scroll that back up, because the name that I'm starting with is right there. Because
who do you
obviously defensive tackle is a very important position of need for the 49ers, but I'm not going to spend my first round pick on it. I am going to spend my second round pick. With the 43rd pick, I'm taking Texas's Alfred Collins. He's one of the best against the runs at his position in the nation. He's got the size that the Niners need. He has played a massive amount of college football over 5 seasons, 1,800 snaps on his body in the Big 12 and in the SEC. He has played well against the big boys, and he has only played against the big boys. I think Alfred Collins is there at 43. I like him at 43. I'm taking him at 43. And he's a defensive tackle that I hadn't even really thought about that much until last night. And I do. I kind of like him. And I figured he was there. So I took him.
And you're putting him down as your round 2 pick. Okay, good. Okay, so for my defensive tackle position, and it's tough because, man, there's only so many. You can't fill every need, and you got to ask yourself where can you get us? The Niners need starters at defensive tackle. But I'm going to go with your guy, CJ West from Indiana.
You're not getting to D tackle until later in this draft. Okay.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I have that down as round 4. And some people think he's going to go in round 3. There's so many defensive tackles. Somebody's going to slip to round 4.
I mean, Kruger. Come on. I don't want to say we're great at what we do, but we kind of nailed the defensive line, interior defensive line. I had the second round. You had CJ, and we picked where they would be drafted too. So that was a good exercise.
It was fun too. And that was probably the best part of it. But yeah, I mean, the thing about Collins that's interesting, and to me, he is the key pick of all the picks. I think Collins is the key pick. Why? Just because his potential it's the biggest swing the Niners took. I think, was on him. Why? Because he is just this monster of a defensive lineman. They used him in the A gap, 146 snaps. They used him over the B gap, 299 snaps. C gap, 129 snaps. Outside, 19 snaps. So he was used all over the place. But yeah, I really, to me, this is a really, really exciting player to get him.
Well,
Why?
I want to.
He is, my big concern was, is he healthy? Because there was a report about a week before the draft that he showed up to the Texas Pro Day in Austin with a boot on. And so
Everyone wears boots in Texas, Larry.
Yeah, with some kind of a boot on. So I don't know, but he had 55 tackles and 1 sack this year. This guy bats down passes. There's no doubt he needs a lot of refinement as a pass rusher, but 35-inch arms, super agile, elite tackle to missed tackle ratio. The guy made 55 tackles. He only missed 2.
Yeah.
And then the line that I love the most in the report, durable player. This guy played in 64 of 65 games at Texas. If this guy does what he has potential to do, this could be the best pick that they made.
Well, when you talk about biggest reach, I think that's Upton Stout, but we'll get to all that later. The Alfred Collins pick, number one, I liked it because I predicted it. Number two, he is the size of an apartment building, and they need more than just a house, playing in between their defensive ends. They need an apartment building, and he is that level big human being. But then when you go ahead and you pair him now with CJ West, let me tell you, CJ West in Indiana is the perfect tackle to play next to this tackle, because CJ West got an awful lot of attention from every single offensive coordinator. This is the guy, we're going to double team him. We're going to chip him. We're going to have, anyone staying in the backfield here to give extra help on that guy. And he's also, as much of a focus that he was great at cleaning up other messes. Alfred Collins and CJ West and how they play together, stopping the run, is probably the same answer to, did the 49ers go back to the postseason? If those two guys play the run well all year long together, and we really look at them like, man, these two guys play off each other, they stunt off each other, they're really complementary players. One guy holds up the other line, one guy holds up a guard and a center, and then the other guy just kicks ass. I mean, there's an awful lot of 49er success in the ability of those two guys to play together. I think they are going to play really well together. I'm most excited about Alfred Collins and CJ West playing together. Mikael Williams, obviously, look, he better be great, especially when you hear that Lynch wanted to trade up for him. It's another sign that their board's a little bit different than everyone else's. And maybe that's not something that they take proper advantage of. We'll get to the things that we didn't like about this draft. But I had him taking Membu in the first round. I really was hoping that could happen. I tried to speak it into existence. The fact that they were looking to trade up, but not for an offensive lineman, and then didn't address offensive line until much later, that's a little bit of a concern. But look, Mikael Williams, you talk yourselves into players. You get into the study. Well, okay, why didn't he really pop for me in the beginning? Why didn't I really think this was the right pick until they made the pick? Now that they made the pick, I tell you, I'm pretty excited about him too. The fact that he's only 20, the fact that his production is explained away by an ankle a little bit. You want to play trick ankle? Great. I'd rather draft a player with, a great production and less trick ankle, but I hear what you're saying. And obviously, Larry, John Lynch, I think, really cares more about the interview and fit and character than we do. And I think it is the tie-breaking, the tie goes to the runner. I think it is the tiebreaker for him in any and all issues. So, you got to, I guess, trust Lynch's instincts that he thinks he's got the dog, the worker, the guy who loves football, loves working at football, loves training at football. And if he got that guy, the 49ers defense should be much better. And in that alone, they're a much better football team than they were last year. The fact that they were so heavy defense early in this draft, it started rubbing me the wrong way around, the fourth round there. But
well, okay. First of all, on Collins, 6'5" and 5/8, 94th percentile, 332 pounds, 92nd percentile, 85-inch wingspan, 97th percentile, 34 and 5/8 arm length, 90th percentile. So, it's pretty clear that their biggest issue in their mind, even though the rest of us had it down as, 4 or 5 issues all maybe on the same level, the way they drafted like Robert Saleh walked in the door and said, guys, we ain't shit if we don't stop the run. So we're going to start right there, stopping the run. And after we stop the run, we'll worry about everything else. But until we stop the run, we're not going to worry about anything else. And, the one thing that I saw about Collins that was so interesting is that when he was in the game, Texas averaged allowing 2.9 yards per carry. So he is an absolute awesome run defender. And then your guy, West, to me, I was going through why I liked him so much, because he is short and he's got short arms. But what he's got is he's got unbelievable torque and strength in his hands and forearms, and he can just throw anybody. Like if you ever get in a bar fight, you want CJ West covering your backside, because this guy will throw anybody away. The film is packed with CJ West throwing 300-pound centers and guards down like tissue paper. His hand strength is so off the charts. They're like little stones, and he absolutely throws people away and plays the run and plays with great leverage, because he's like Leverage McLeverage's, little brother. Now, he's a lot like DJ Jones.
He won the Michigan game,
no doubt,
shutting down the Michigan running game.
He's a monster inside. So between Mikell, who's really, really good right now at stopping the run with long arms and great force, Mikell Williams right out of the chute. What he is he's a really good run defender who is right now could start and play the run. He doesn't have really any moves. And so he needs to have Kasarik and Saleh really coach him up on learning moves, stringing them together, that kind of thing. But another guy, very versatile. The one thing the Niners like to do, there's things that you like to do and things you don't like to do. The things the Niners don't want to do is they don't want to have a smallish first and second down defensive end who's really only there for third down because he just gets dominated at the point. So they want a good run defender. That's one. Two, they like to move their defensive ends around and play all these stunting games and twisting games. So they want a bigger defensive end that they can line up a tackle and spin him outside, or line him up inside and spin him outside or inside. They want to be able to have a versatile alignment guy. And Mikell Williams lined up by snap last year, 24 snaps in the B gap, 151 snaps in the C gap, 222 snaps wide. He'll be lined up wide mostly in this wide 9. So there's belief that he can sack the quarterback better in San Francisco than he did at Georgia. We'll see. He's really, really, to me, he's a very safe pick because he's great against the run, and he's great against the run right now, and he's got a pro body. There's a lot of guys that were drafted this weekend, not just by the Niners, by other teams, that need to get stronger. This guy doesn't need to get stronger. He just needs to get out there and learn some moves.
Right. Chris Kasarik, coach him up. Coach him up. Look, this is a draft that obviously had Robert Saleh's DNA all over it, like it was a murder scene, right? I mean, this is why I'm not gonna get all angry or up in arms about what I thought were a couple reaches. Nick Martin and Upton Stout. These are Robert Saleh specials. With Saleh back in the room, I feel better about these picks. Saleh can pick a linebacker. Saleh can pick a corner. He can pick a slot guy. And his defense playing well depends on that. So I think Saleh walked into the room and said, look, I'll be your defensive coordinator again, but we got to stop the run, and then you got to give me a few guys to clean shit up. And that is what Nick Martin and Upton Stout have turned into. Now we can get into Jordan Watkins and Jordan James and the safety from K-State. Again, Robert Saleh, whatever you think. And then obviously the news about the Mustafa injury brings you back to the safety selection, and it puts a little bit more clarity on that. But this is a huge, huge moment for this team to get back to what made them great when Saleh was here. And it was with a defense that just didn't play any games. And obviously, I think you can see what the plan is here. Offense, 24 points a week. Let's win with that. That's what they're hoping for. They want an offense that gives them 24 points a week, and Kyle Shanahan hopes Robert Saleh being back in the room makes that win more often than not. I do not like how little they paid attention to their offensive line. Now, call it circumstances, this is me going back to free agency. Do something there then, if you're worried about how the draft could play out. I wished that they had done something to their offensive line. And if they improved their defense against the run to the detriment of their offensive line, well, that could come out in the wash and you're not much of a better football team. I wish they could have done a little something more offensive line minded earlier in this draft. I mean, they're about to make a huge investment in this quarterback. Or, Larry, go ahead and let's start. You want to go nuts? Let's go nuts. You go ahead and cut Brock Purdy right now. You go ahead and trade him because you got Pocket Brock. That's who Curtis Rourke is. He's Pocket Brock. Every single element of the Brock Purdy story that you like, the kid who has been overlooked, undersold his entire life, blah, blah, blah. Now he's got an opportunity. He was a rising tide in a nothing program, made them significant for a minute. I don't think he's got a lick to survive behind this offensive line as it's currently built. But if you could give Curtis Rourke a pocket, you got a quarterback, another quarterback. He is a real quarterback, for real. Now they should. I'm surprised. I'm surprised they drafted him. I really am. I don't know if he's an NFL quarterback. I don't know if he's going to be a good 49er quarterback because he is a statue. But boy, he's got every little intangible and compliment. And if you want to talk about what's his greatest ability, he's a processor, man. He processes the field and what is happening in the play in front of him like a supercomputer. That's why the Indiana Hoosiers were able to go out and play real football this year. He was phenomenal with the decisions he made. And, if you can protect him, you got a quarterback there. Now, I also think they're about to give Brock Purdy $50 million, which means I would have made an investment in the offensive line. But I would have made an investment in the offensive line anyways, with it getting older and, good luck in the middle and Trent Williams and blah, blah, blah. I would not have drafted Curtis Rourke, but now that he's here, I hope he beats out Brock Purdy and he wins the Super Bowl. Let's go.
Okay.
I'm a little over my skis. Obviously, I'm just joking. He's a practice squad guy. I think
I didn't like it when I heard it. I really didn't. But I'll be honest. I didn't like Brock Purdy when I heard Brock Purdy. My first thought on Brock Purdy was, oh man, they drafted a backup quarterback. And my first thought here was, what? You need offensive line badly. You have Willie Lampkin sitting right there, and you're taking Curtis Rourke. But then last night I went and did the deep dive on Curtis Rourke, and man, I can see kind of what they like. Okay. First of all, he's not going to play this year at all. He's got a torn ACL. He needs surgery. So he's going to have, they knew that.
He played on it all last year.
Yeah. So this year they're going to fix it. Right. I mean, he showed his toughness. He played on a torn ACL all year. But so he's not going to play. I mean, like, they're going to have that surgery. they're gonna redshirt him. He is gonna be essentially out for the year this year. That's how they're gonna do it. So they basically just a draft and stash player for the future. He is very accurate, 69.4%, and he takes shots down the field, 9.4 yards per attempt. Those two numbers in a vacuum tell you he's pretty decent. He's completing 70%, and he's got 9.4 yards per attempt. That means he drives it down the field and he completes a high percentage. 3,042 passing yards, 29 touchdowns, 5 picks. The number I didn't like, 7 fumbles. He fumbled 7 times this year. Now, the one thing when you watch him, this guy can read defenses. This guy can make any throw. Why is he a fit for Shanahan? And then this is one of those things, Damon, where you almost have to go investigate each quarterback, figure out what they're good at, what they're bad at. And somewhere in that process, you're going to find why Kyle Shanahan loves him, right? And sure enough, I found it last night. 2 things that stand out about Curtis Rourke. Against the blitz, 85 of 121 for 1,132 yards, 11 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a passer rating of 126.5. This guy's really good when you try to blitz him or speed him up. He also is not a great mover, but if you watch his film, he does throw accurately on the move. Roethlisberger did it. Certain guys can do it. It's like a unique trait in and of itself. Some guys are accurate. Some guys can run. Some guys can't run. Some guys can run, but they can't throw when they're running. This guy can throw accurately when he's running.
Well,
So
here's
that's
the thing.
pretty good.
He's a statue in terms of where you want him to throw, but you can design a rollout for him. Like he's got footwork. He's
right.
You can move him around as long as the pocket's sort of moving with him. Once the play goes off script and he's running for his life, that's when he gets in a little bit of trouble. I think that's what caused the fumbles. Indiana's offensive line was good, not great. And that is another reason why, I mean, a lot of guys in this draft were the guys who caused those fumbles.
The number one factor, his number one factor, and the why he's a great fit for Shanahan is that Shanahan at his core. Now, this year he went away from it, but at his core, coming into this year, Shanahan was a guy who liked to run the ball and play action pass off the ball, off the run. And this guy is awesome off play action. In 2024, Curtis Rourke on play action passes was 90 for 111 for 1,200 yards, 14 touchdowns, 1 pick, and a passer rating, wait for this, of 147.5. So why does Shanahan love the guy? Because I would have taken like a Seth Hennigan, Brady Cook, Peyton Thorne, Cam Miller, Riley Leonard, more guys who were more mobile. But Shanahan loves the fact that this guy can make all the throws, and he's really, really good against pressure, and he's really, really good off play action. So who knows? I mean, I hated the Purdy pick. I didn't like this pick either. To me, there were more pressing needs. But if you hit on a quarterback, you're ahead of the game, and he's a true redshirt guy. So he's not going to play a down this year. He's going to redshirt. Brock's going to be your 1. Mac's going to be your 2. Mordecai's going to be your 3. There's not going to be really any competition there, only between probably Mordecai and Mac for number 2 a little bit. And other than that, Curtis Rourke is a draft and stash quarterback. It's not yesterday. I didn't love it, or 2 days ago, I didn't love it. After last night, I like it a lot more.
Yeah.
Gotta be honest. I like it a lot more.
It's one of those, like, you got a football player. There he is. That guy's a football player. I don't know. There's probably a better way to say it. There's more draft cliches I could throw at you to explain who he is, but he's a guy who walked into a situation that was a new situation, moving parts all around it, and really exceeded. And like Brock, he wasn't yet another 5-star recruit playing behind yet another 5-star recruit, throwing to yet another 5-star recruit. he was the direction that the team had to be pointed in every week, because if not for him, it's not going to happen. And it kept on happening and happening and happening and happening. This guy made a football program that has been historically lost in the woods an awful lot better. And I don't think that, Kurt Cignetti, the coach who came in and changed, Indiana around, has the success that he has with anybody else other than Curtis Rourke. He really, really did what is the equivalent of college football impossible. And that's make Indiana a respectable program. Now, did he struggle against Notre Dame? Did he struggle against Ohio State? Yes. But that was also the national championship. I mean, Indiana's breakdowns were hardly just dependent on the quarterback in those games. Special teams slit throats in both of those games for the Hoosiers. So, it's too bad when most Niner fans who are watching us right now saw him. He played his 2 worst football games of the year. He played his worst football when most people were looking at him. All the other games, Big Ten opponents, he kicked ass, man. He's a really good player. We'll see what he does. And like you said, as an investment, great. It felt like the Niners needed more urgency, though, to address the upcoming season. They didn't have a lot of draft and stash options, and they took one. And I'm cool. Look, you want to take quarterback every year in the 7th round? I'm fine with it. I really am, especially with the luck that they ran into in Purdy. I think almost every team should do that. Should we talk about what we don't like about this draft, Larry?
Sure.
A little bit.
I haven't talked about what I really love yet.
Oh, okay. Well, here, why don't we do that? We'll keep it positive, and then we'll work to the negative. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, to me, I know they didn't go off. By the way, the nickname for Curtis Rourke is pretty amazing.
So by the way,
the Maple Missile.
Yeah,
the Maple Missile.
No one called him that not once. No one called him that not once all year. That is a post. That's like an after the fact bullshit. Not Don Fisher never called him that. I never called him that. None of my friends ever called him that. Not a single Indiana chat room ever called him that. That is some post ESPN draft kind of bullshit right there. But yes, this is Maple, Montana.
The Maple Missile.
Now that he's a Niner, he's Maple, Montana.
He fumbled too many times. He's a little bit older. He's going to be 25. He's got a little bit of a slow release. He tore the same ACL twice, so there's some concern about that ACL. I thought there were better quarterbacks available, but he's tough, and he played through an ACL injury in 24. He was a 3-time captain at Ohio. I mean, let's be honest too. This guy's a fucking winner. Ohio is not a place that has any tradition, and that guy won at Ohio. Indiana is, as Damon knows, is a basketball school. There's not a great football tradition there. He had a very good year playing hurt at Indiana, so this guy's a little bit of a winner. The durability, the ability to avoid hits in the future, the lack of mobility, that's a concern, but little bit of a winner. Little bit of a winner for sure. Gives that winner vibe. But the pick that I love, and the more I watch this guy, the more I think, oh my God, the Niners really got themselves a steal. And that is Connor Colby, the Iowa right guard. And why do I love this player so much? One, because this is the problem. I was watching something on Draft Review last night, and they made some great points. And the points that were made, and I forget who made this exact point, but that a lot of the bad teams stay bad because they draft offensive linemen early. And then because they draft them early, they feel obligated to put them on the field. And then they put them on the field and they're not ready to play. And then they're bad. And then they're back drafting high again. And it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You draft offensive linemen high. You then are forced to play them before they're ready. Then you don't win games. Then you're back drafting high again. So I do understand the Niners mentality of spend your money on your athletes on defense. Spend your money on your guys who touch the ball on offense. And Damon, it's funny. This is a bigger conversation. But it's really weird. The Niners under Shanahan and Lynch have had a lot of success. The Niners in the 80s and 90s had even more, right? A lot of success. They won Super Bowls. The Niners in the 80s and 90s had Bob McKittrick as their offensive line coach. They never drafted offensive linemen high. Of all of their drafts, the only offensive linemen they ever took high were Bubba Paris in the early 80s and Harris Barton in the late 80s. Other than that, they never really drafted offensive linemen on the first round of the draft. They just didn't. But back then, it was like loved. Niner fans loved it. They were like, this is our advantage. We have McKittrick. We like different type linemen than everybody else. Everybody else is investing first and second round picks in offensive linemen, and we're signing smaller athletic guys that fit McKittrick's system, and we're winning Super Bowls. Well, everything is still happening. Take out McKittrick, add in Forster, and they're getting to Super Bowls. They just haven't won a Super Bowl. And look at the difference. Niner fans do not look at Chris Forster and the Niners' approach to their offensive line and say, wow, you know what? They actually had pretty good measurables last year. Brock Purdy was not sacked very much. The Niners found the best offensive lineman in last year's draft, and they found him in the third round. The Niners don't need to use a high pick on an offensive lineman because they've got Forster and they've got a plan and no. Now it's just like negligence. Forster is an idiot. The Niners are idiots. They don't know. They just drafted Dom Pooney. He would have been the best offensive lineman in last year's draft, and they got him in the third round. And guess what they got in this draft? I think they got another unbelievable steal. Why? Because Connor Colby is, when I did a video about a month ago on who are the Niners really looking at on the offensive line? Because we mocked him, but we never actually talked about it. And so I went and looked at their offensive linemen they drafted last year. Lombardi did a piece on it. There was a couple other people that did a piece on it. They drafted guys, Damon, that had great short shuttle numbers and 10-yard split numbers. They value quickness and mobility over power at offensive line. So that's what they go for. Well, that's what Nugent was. That's what Kingston was. That's what Pooney was. That's what Bryson Mays was. And they found a couple good players and a really good one in Pooney. Well, guess what? Connor Colby also graded out really, really highly in that short shuttle. He also played at a school that I think has the best coaching on the offensive line at Iowa. He also made 50 college starts, so he's super experienced. Then you turn on the film, and what you see, 6'5", 309 pounds, only allowed 2 sacks all year, never missed a start ever, super mean and nasty run blocker, well coached, and very athletic and can run. And when you watch his film, Damon, it's like watching a 5-year veteran. This guy knows how to position his body. He knows how to play. I'm going to say it right now. Connor Colby will start at guard for the 49ers over, whoever it is, Ben Barch, Spencer Burford. I don't know who's
Nick Sakel.
Connor Colby, rookie 7th round draft choice, will start at guard for the 49ers. I really believe it.
It could happen. Look at it this way. He has a huge opportunity in front of him. When I think about who is the beneficiary from kid, man, you got an opportunity, I'm looking at Jordan Watkins, the 4th round wide receiver out of Mississippi. It's like, hey, man, you got speed to you. You can come straight in here and be the Brandon Ayuk until Brandon Ayuk gets here. What you have working against you is Kyle Shanahan's seething hatred of all rookie wide receivers. If you can get past that, and you, based on a numbers game, are going to be given more grace and room, I think, to make mistakes and learn on the fly than any rookie wide receiver has recently received. This guy's got an opportunity to jump right in front of, guys who are starting to establish, I don't want to say Juwan Jennings, But, Jacob Cowing, look out. Like Jordan Watkins is coming for all your snaps. And this guy is, look, I didn't spend much time seeing him. He's an after the fact, let's go learn about him player in this draft. I didn't have the Niners connected to him at all, not once. But okay, kid, you got a huge opportunity, man. You have serious chances in front of you. And I agree with you. Connor Colby, he is coming out of a model that produces ready-to-play football players. And you just know that George Kittle loves this pick. He's going to go over and give him the secret Iowa handshake. He's going to hand him an ear of corn. They're going to be very, very, he's got a touch point in that locker room that is about an important player as there is in that locker room. I'm sure he's going to take him right under his wing. I'm excited about both those guys' chances and opportunities. You're so right about the whole, McKittrick, the 49er leg whip. They just tripped the shit out of guys before they called it in football. They did. They tripped the fuck out of everybody. Ask the Dallas Cowboys how the Niners played offensive line back in the day. But they tripped their ways to Super Bowls. They did. God bless them. And everything could be just fine and dandy.
The Niners have good O-line metrics.
Until Trent Williams gets hurt.
Yeah, they have no tackle depth, none.
If Trent Williams gets hurt, the bets that you were making on this season are all off. Trent Williams needs to play 17 regular season football games and all the postseason as well. That is non-negotiable. And that's that's what I hate about the world the 49ers did create for themselves in this draft. They are fucked. If either of their tackles gets hurt. They're not in a little trouble, Larry. They're fucked. If either tackle gets hurt, the one you love, the one you don't like, either gets hurt, good luck this year. They're in trouble.
Well, they're not. Yeah, I agree. I mean, they're not. I got to think they're not done adding to this thing. But I mean, this right now, I would say left to right, this is the Niner O-line. Trent Williams, Ben Barch, Jake Brendel, Dom Pooney, Colton McKivitz. I'm only really satisfied with probably a couple of those guys. I'm not that satisfied with Barch because I don't think there's durability. I'm not that satisfied with Brendel. I'm okay with McKivitz. I like Trent and I love Pooney, but I don't see the depth. Now, Burford is there. I like Burford's talent. Matt Hennessy's there. Maybe he's a significant player. I do like Drake Nugent. They also signed Drew Moss out of Colorado State. But yeah, I mean, to me, Damon, this was one of the things that went on one need that went unfilled. I mean, they had two needs on the offensive line. They had to add themselves a solid interior player. And I think they did that in Connor Colby. And they also needed to add themselves a swing tackle. And I don't think they did. I think there were guys that they really liked. I thought maybe Miles Hinton from Michigan, but then he went, I think, to Philly or Ravens or somebody late in the draft. So the tackles really came off the board. There's a saying, I mean, and I've heard a bunch of scouts say this, that wherever you have your quarterback, your corners, and your offensive tackles listed, you ought to push them further up the board. Because if you don't, there's such a such a need for those positions that the rules of supply and demand will push them up the board. I get the feeling that the Niners set their board the way they set their board, and they don't push their quarterbacks or their corners or their offensive tackles up. They play it the way it comes to them, and with other teams going early for those positions, the Niners, keep saying, well, no, we have a tackle we could take here, but he's our 11th guy on our board, and we've got two guys that are second on our board. No, we're going to stay true to our board. We're going to take the better player. But yeah, who's your backup tackle? Who's your swing tackle? It will be interesting to see. I think the Niners are a candidate, Damon, to either sign a veteran or trade potentially for a veteran. And if you told me that they went to camp with this group of offensive linemen and that they found a swing tackle either at the cut down or in the trade market in August, I think that could happen as well.
I think it could. I think it's going to need to happen. They also in their undrafted class of rookies, signed tackle Drew Moss out of Colorado. Now,
yeah, I think he's a guard. I think he might be a
okay.
guard.
Either way,
he played guard for them, I think.
Colorado offensive linemen do not come cloaked in glory this draft. You know what I mean? Ask Shedeur Sanders.
This guy's CSU. He's a Colorado State guy. But either way, I mean, I don't know a lot about Drew Moss, but yeah, they signed Drew Moss. I'm
sorry, he is Colorado State. I forgot to put the state. I just put Colorado.
The backups here, so Trent, Barch, Brendel, Pooney, McKivitz, those 5 guys probably going to make the team. They're going to come up with 3 or 4 backups out of the group. And I would say Connor Colby, Drake Nugent, Burford, Hennessy, Zakel. Those are probably the guys that compete for those spots. But then Austin Pleasance is probably your swing tackle right now. And I would imagine they're going to try to upgrade that. So look for them to, add an offensive tackle between now and whatever summer. I think they'll probably add an offensive tackle. But I love Colby. And to me, when you watch Colby, the one thing that's noticeable, he's a veteran. He's a veteran player. I mean, this guy's played a lot of football. And so you can see it. Like when you're watching this guy, you're like, whoa, 7th round pick. His 10-yard split was 1.78, which is a great number. His 40-yard dash was 5.11, also a very good number. Very dependable, very durable. 50 college starts to his name, and yet he's only 22 years old. If you watch the film, he played right guard at Iowa. He wears number 77. Mobile, well-coached, run mauler, struggles a little bit with pass protection, but, freshman All-American, zone blocker, 10-inch hands. One of the scouts called him a run-blocking menace. I mean, that's what run-blocking menace is what I'm looking for.
You give me the word menace associated to as many football players on a team as you want. I like it an awful lot. Like and subscribe. Hit that like button right now. We should be getting lots of thumbs up as it exists right now. Hopefully you're subscribed to both channels. If you're not, please do so. Larry, look, I like the draft. I think the Niners had a good draft. I think the Niners are a better football team today than the day I took off to Japan. I really do. Even with the incompletes, even with the reaches, I hope it works. I am placing faith in Robert Saleh being all over this draft, and hopefully, John Lynch, who, I just think so. All right, here we go. We're going to talk moving market forces here. I think the 49ers need a director of draft projection. They have their board, and they're committed to their board. I don't think the Niners understand how their board relates to the rest of the NFL. And I know that this is unknowable knowledge because it's not like other teams are going to tell you, well, here's what we think. These are our philosophies, and this is how we go about doing our business. Everybody's got their own proprietary information. But it is clear that the 49ers have a value system which has them reaching for players as to where the consensus seems to be where they are in this draft. And I just wish the thing that I like the least in this draft for the 49ers is that they didn't trade back not once. There were more players to be attained in this draft and still walk away with the collection of players that you got in this draft. I really believe that. No one was coming for Upton Stout in the 3rd round. Not a swinging dick in the NFL had him mocked above a 5th. I mean, that was a mega reach. Now, you start reading the stuff and you're like, oh, dude, this kid from Western Kentucky, he's a dog. K1 Williams, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you get yourself very excited about him quickly, and I'm not crapping on the pick. But you could have gotten Upton Stout in the 5th round. You did not.
I'm okay with that. If you have the conviction, I mean, the biggest reach was? It was Nick Martin. I actually did a breakdown after the draft, and I went and looked at where Matt Miller, our buddy from ESPN, had everybody ranked, and then I looked at where Dane Brugler had everybody ranked, and then I went and saw where they all went, right? And the biggest reach of all was Nick Martin. Nick
Yep.
Martin was projected by Brugler to go 200. He was projected by Matt Miller to go 234, and he went 75. So that was the biggest reach on paper. But you know what? I'm okay with that. Here's the bottom line on this. It's people evaluating people and then, discussing it in groups of other people. It's like, and everybody's got a different system, different contacts, different values, different experiences. So I'm okay with it. I personally thought, okay, I thought they reached for Mikael Williams because I thought there were some really good players behind him. But you know what? I understand why. I mean, he's 6'5". He's got super long arms. He's great against the run. You're terrible against the run. You're looking for a first and second down run defender at defensive end. It was him or Shamar Stewart. They both were traits-based picks. And this guy had a little bit more production and maybe is a little less crazy than Shamar Stewart, a little bit more solid as a guy. Well, so I think that's why they went with Mikael. But I'm okay with what they did. I love the CJ West pick. I thought the Stout pick was really good. I love the Nick Martin pick. I love the Jordan Watkins pick. The only two picks that I was like, really three, but I'm even one over on the Maple Missile now because I can see the value of his decision making. But to me, the two picks that I was like, kind of like, I don't know. One was Jordan James.
Yeah.
The running back from Oregon. He plays with power. He's his own runner. He's got vision. He's decisive. I know Frank Gore liked him. He can catch. He's not a burner. He was he was one of the main reasons that Oregon was awesome this year. He had 0 career fumbles, which is, I see Elijah Mitchell's replacement. He's a good pass blocker, so Bobby T will like him. But I if you told me that Corey Kiner from Cincinnati, their undrafted rookie free agent, is going to outperform Jordan James, I wouldn't even doubt it. I love, they're very similar.
Hey,
5'9", same height. Corey Kiner's got better, really good contact balance. Corey Kiner was Ohio's Mr. Football. Started at LSU. To me, they got two backs, but I'm not sure that Kiner's not better.
Instead of Jordan James in the 5th, I would have been just as happy with Kyle Monange in the 7th. By the way, he went a few picks, 7 picks after Rourke. I really think that is where the draft sort of pivoted to. And
didn't love that. Didn't love the Marcus Siegel K-State pick either. I mean,
you understand it a little bit more once we got the Mustafa news, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I understand why they needed a guy there, but as far as he was another guy, I mean, Marcus Siegel was rated 263 by Brugler. Marcus Siegel was rated 231 by Matt Miller, and he went 160. That's kind of a freaking reach and a half for Marcus Siegel. But I will say this: 4.37 speed, transferred from North Dakota State, versatile. It seemed to me like a John Lynch pick from the standpoint of John played safety.
Yeah.
And it seemed like when he got on the phone call with this kid, he had seemingly a rapport with him. So I'll defer to John. John's a Hall of Fame safety, and this guy does run 4.37 and is a converted corner. So I do like that. Like if you said to me, what do I want in a free safety? I'd love to find a guy that can cover who, and if you get a cornerback, a former corner, oftentimes they are pretty good in coverage. So I love that one. I love the fact that they got a corner with this pick. I just didn't love, Marcus Siegel from K-State at that point when that seemed like there were a lot better guys there.
The one bit of residue from Trey Lance that is still over the 49ers that I think makes them better now at the drafting process, and you can see this being played out in just about every single guy that they drafted, is they're not taking guys who they don't have a lot of film of anymore. All these guys played an awful lot in college. There are college careers on these bodies coming in that they really had a lot of time to evaluate. where they, Trey Lance, he didn't play very much. We still don't know. It's a lot of mystery. We think, we got a hunch. All these guys come with miles of tape. So that I think is one reassuring thing that I like about this draft as well. Every single player that they drafted was a player who played a lot. So they had a lot to evaluate. And like you said, Lynch, when he gets on that phone, it's like there's already, I don't want to say friendship, that's corny, but there's already a relationship being built there. I think Lynch absolutely has a personality type or ethics, character, call it whatever you want, that is going to be the tie that breaks his evaluation process. If two guys are close, he will leave some physical traits on the floor to take the better guy. And there's no problem. I got no problem with that, by the way. I think you need that. Every now and then you got to say, I don't care if he's an axe murderer, he's on the fucking team too. There's an element of that. But, again, John Lynch, he might not have found the perfect safety yet. He hasn't picked a bad safety. Like all the safeties, Hufanga, guys that you move on from, they can play. So he's got some track record there. I'll give him some benefit of the doubt. You're talking about value. Where are they reaching or not? And again, this is where you got to start separating. Well, there's so much noise out there. Where do you get your noise? What do you mean consensus? What is it a reach? Is that a reach because the media just said blah, 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 and then the player went before the media predicted, so now the media is screaming reach, but scouts aren't screaming it? All you can see is that, look, the greatest draft evaluator of talent ever in Mel Kiper nearly had his brain scrambled this weekend because of the Shedeur Sanders thing. So, the beauty's always
he blew that.
Yeah, the beauty's always in the eye of the beholder. He's blown a lot of things, though. He blew Tebow.
No. Nobody's. He called Shedeur Joe Montana.
It's a bit much. Right? It's a bit much.
Mel jumped the shark this weekend on that one.
He embarrassed himself this weekend. There's no doubt about it. But again,
that was bad. And then he spent the rest of the weekend trying to justify talking about it all the time.
Ridiculous. It was ridiculous. But here's the thing. So here's a guy that you and I both like, right? Warren Sharp. We think he's one of the sharpest knives in the drawer. I really like his work. And he does things in an unemotional, fact-based, chart-based, very interesting way. After ranking 28th in draft value last year, the 49ers did even worse this year, ranking 31st, according to Warren Sharp. The 49ers had the 6th most draft capital and wasted a lot of it on wide receiver Jordan Watkins out of Ole Miss, who was picked at 138. He wasn't ranked in the top 300 by consensus big boards. Linebacker Nick Martin at 75 was projected to go around 192.
They wanted their guys, and right. they weren't worried about value. I'm okay with that.
Here's the thing.
To me, it's all about just do you find players, and it doesn't matter. It's like, does anybody remember what round every guy goes in? It doesn't matter after a while. Just all that matters is did you hit on somebody?
Of course, but let me just finish this point. Going so far off the board for a second straight year puts the bullseye squarely on John Lynch. He could lose in the draft value, but win overall, and he's smarter than everyone else out there. So, this isn't just setting up to criticize John. This is literally the difference between John Lynch is smarter than everybody else or not. There is a converse to the, he's reaching, he knows more than everyone else. All these picks, though, in 2024 and 2025, if they falter, there's a serious discussion that needs to be had. And with the number one pick of this draft itself for the 49ers, Mikael Williams, we learned in the John Lynch phone call to him that they tried to trade up for him. In other words, it was Williams or bust, right? I mean, that's how much they liked this guy. And then they went out of their way to say it was consensus. The one guy that every single person in our front office, our scouting department, everybody, full consensus, this is the guy. If you feel that strongly about it, this should be kind of how you're measured then. Because if he's a great player, then you're all right, you're smart, everyone. But if you're all wrong about this guy, then we're going to be talking regime change in a year or two.
Well, I mean, I disagree. I mean, first of all, your last year's draft is a success story for John Lynch.
It's not a good draft so far.
And last year their draft got panned, and they, upon the redraft, probably had a top 5 draft, and in Dom Pooney had the top offensive lineman, and they got him in the 3rd round. So I would say last year's draft was really, really good. This year's draft, I think, looks really, really good on paper. There's a lot of players here. I mean, and here's the other thing too. There were a lot of Niner people, media people, who came out, stated like ironclad 4 or 5 weeks before the draft that the Niners were not going to be a Super Bowl team because they could not do it. They wouldn't have enough talent. And I would say, looking at their roster right now, I don't see a team that, like, at the defensive line, they were super naked. But if you just count defensive linemen, Bosa, Collins, West, Mikael Williams, those are your starting 4. Aquinu, Evan Anderson, Jordan Elliott, Yatir Gross-Matos, those are your second 4. That's 8. So out of the rest of your defensive linemen, you probably got to come up with 2 guys. And of those, to choose between 2 guys, you've got Robert Beal, Kevin Givens, Kalia Davis, Sebastian Valdez, who they just signed, Jonathan Garvin, Alec Barrett, Teron Jackson, who I kind of like, Drake Jackson. So, I mean, they kind of rebuilt the depth there. I mean, and then linebacker wise, Warner, Winters. Now you got Nick Martin, Luke Gifford. You're probably looking for one guy to make the team between Graham Bethune, Curtis Robinson, and Stone Blanton, another undrafted guy. So, I mean, they got some players. They bolstered their defensive front 7. They're in an absolute nightmare situation if Kittle goes down or if McKivitz or Williams goes down. They didn't get a tight end. They didn't get an offensive tackle. So that's where they fell short. But I would say the 49ers are going to be a 10-win football team and a playoff team. The other thing I would say is every now and then you find somebody in the draft that's just a sleeper, whatever. The Niners got one of the most intriguing undrafted free agents, I think, in this entire class. Isaiah Nayor from Wyoming, Texas, finished up this year at Nebraska, is a super intriguing wide receiver. Why is he a super intriguing wide receiver? One, he's 6'4", 220. He's got 35-inch arms. So he's got ridiculously long arms. 6'4", 218, 9 7/8 hands, almost 10-inch hands, 34.5-inch arms, almost 35-inch arms. His vertical is 38 inches. So, I mean, you're talking about a guy who already is 6'4", 220, now has arm length that's off the charts, and he's got vertical that's almost 40 inches, and he runs at 6'4", 220 almost. He ran a 4.4 flat 40.
Well, look, if you are
this guy is a guy to watch. I mean,
if you're a wide receiver, if you're a wide receiver in Santa Clara, the world is yours, man. You're going to have opportunity. I don't care who you were, what you did last year, who your daddy is, where you were drafted, maybe you weren't even drafted. You're going to get an opportunity. If you can stand out in training camp, you can play for the 49ers at wide receiver this season. So good luck, kid. And I'll say the exact same thing to the guy that they got in the 7th round out of Montana, Junior Bergen. Like, I got no clue. Good luck, kid. You know, you get the whole fucking world in front of you with real snaps that you're going to get in situations that otherwise probably wouldn't going to come to you. So, you know, good luck. You know, you landed in situations dictate careers. the situation for every single 49er wide receiver prospect that they got on their roster is a great situation. These guys can all fight for playing time, and somebody's going to win it. I mean, they got to have 3 wide receivers out there, so it's going to be 3 guys no matter what. Who's it going to be? It's
and the Watkins pick. I mean, people want to rip the Watkins pick. Go right ahead, and I understand because he was listed by a lot of people as an undrafted free agent. But let's not, once again, I'm a real believer in this. If you can somehow connect athleticism to production and you have both, that's it. And that's what this kid has. This kid played for Ole Miss. He's got athleticism, 4.37 speed. He's got production. He led the SEC in touchdown catches. There you go. 4.37 speed. You lead the best conference in America in touchdown catches. He only had 2 drops in his entire 60-game college career. 2 drops.
Like that.
I love this kid. He's built like a running back at 5'11", 200 pounds. But he had a 75-yard touchdown. He's durable. He's the only FBS player with 5 receptions of 60 or more yards in 2024. When Trey Harris went down, this guy stepped up. I had him in the 6th round, but he went in the 4th. So that's definitely a little high, but or was it the 3rd?
Look, again, this is
why the 3rd or 4th.
This is why, Larry, the Niners need a director of draft projection. They understand their board, but I don't think they have a clue as to how other boards are operating. And that is a level of value that they're not getting enough out of. Again, they could have had 4 or 5 of their players in the draft that they wanted by just trading back and still getting all of them. Like, I did a little thought exercise here. Like, I really hope that Upton Stout is a monster. Go get him, kid. Go get him. But Upton Stout to me was like a big reach in the moment. Imagine if Upton Stout had been Cam Scattaboo, who was there, could have had him. You went with Upton Stout instead of Cam Scattaboo. So now all of a sudden, you got this really interesting touch the ball a million times offensive playmaker on your team who can play a little wide receiver. He's like Christian McCaffrey light, basically.
But Stout's more of a need. Stout's more of a need. You have no corners.
But here's the deal. You could have had him. You still could have had CJ West. You still get your wide receiver in Jordan Watkins. And had you gone Scattaboo early, you come on back and you could have got Ty Hamilton, the D tackle out of Ohio State, who's still there on the board, but he's a Ram. You could have gotten.
I hear you. I mean, you could play this game. We could play this game forever.
You got to do the JJ Pegues again. You could have Kyle Monangi in the 7th round and not taking any running backs. And if your whole thing about, the kid from Oregon is he doesn't fumble, well, neither did Monangi. There you go. He didn't fumble either. So, like, I don't know. I wish that they played their board better against. And again, it's a tough wish because it's all happening in real time and you don't know who's going where. And after the fact, it's so easy to see. But in real time, I just thought that there were so many opportunities to like trade back 4, 5, 6, 7 picks, and you're still going to get that guy. These don't have to be dramatic trade backs, but it was an opportunity that I think they missed. And oh, by the way, speaking of the division, Seattle, really good draft. The Rams, really good draft, putting arrows in their quiver for first rounders next year as well. Rams are going to be controlling that first round with 2 first rounders next year. The NFC West got better, man. The NFC West got better, and the Niners absolutely got better. I'm excited. I'm not mad at this draft in any way, shape, or form, but we got to talk about it. We got to pick some things, picky. But I really do. I hope they got a collection of really good guys who are ready to get to work because there's opportunity for all of them, Larry. I mean, you want to talk
supers. Let's hit some supers because we're both up against it here. Mike Baker says D. Brew's posts from Tokyo were fun, and Larry's coverage was both fun and informative. Great job, guys. Looking forward to a great season. Let's go Niners. Mike Baker. Rakib Jumani, welcome back, Damon. Loved your egg salad sandwich review from Japan. Food critic might not be a bad journey for you.
It was a delicious egg salad sandwich. It really was.
You need Kapler out there. MSQ says, you say Niners don't go O-line round 1. Staley, Yapati, Davis. Yeah. That's in this latest regime. But I mean, the Niners. My point is that for years the Niners had Bob McKittrick, and they didn't go offensive lineman early, and yet Niner fans looked at it as a value add. Like, yeah, we don't have to waste offensive line picks early because we can get guys late. Well, they're doing that now, and yet people are like, yeah, where are those early picks on the O linemen? Well, they're having success, so let's let them have success. Anthony Licked Scorpion, the only 49er fan still bitching is Grant Cohn. MSQ, would you trade 3 firsts for Malik Mustafa? Malik Mustafa is that, if there's one thing that is a little frustrating is that the 49ers are, hid this from everybody.
Yeah.
That's against the rules. So I don't know about that, to be completely honest. But yeah, it sounds like Mustafa's mom said that she thinks he'll be back for week 1. So it may not be as big a deal as people say, but we'll see.
Look, the Niners lie. That's it. They will cover up information. They will play it so close to their vest they might be cheating. We saw this in week 1 with Christian McCaffrey. They knew he wasn't going to play that day, and they listened to his game time decision bullshit. Like, the Niners cover up injuries. There's no doubt about it.
Joseph Ernberg, I really hope Nair looks good and gets a chance. Yeah, no question. Clarence Beeks, member for 13 months. Like and subscribe, you mooks. Thank you, Clarence.
Thank you, Clarence.
Subscribe if you were put on the waiting list for San Ignatius. Thank you. That's awesome. MSQ, we went from Brady 6, Purdy 8, and now the Sanders 5. Oh, my God. Sanders 5. What a joke. All right. Final thought, Damon, before we get out of here. I'm streaming at 11 with Sam Batesh today.
Hey, I know that guy.
Sammy is going to be by today at 11. I'll also be on CamBR at 12:50 with the Gregs breaking it down. I'll also be on CamBR tonight at 6 o'clock for the return of Niners Nightly. We'll have a post-draft edition and take your calls, and I'll give some thoughts. And, man, we got a busy day. Videos coming out, live streams coming, a lot of breakdown. Baldy's going to be on the Krug show. Cole Kubelik's going to be in the house. We're really fired up. So, Damon, I'll give you final word on the show today.
Again, congrats to everyone. I think Niners fans should be excited. Larry, it was a great weekend for your channel. You and Kevin did a great job. Again, lots of compliments to go around. Lombardi, Crocky, Lund, guys that I were watching all over, Guy Haberman. There were a lot of people who just aren't on the radio like they used to be, who are doing a better job covering this draft than half the people that are given these jobs on the radio these days. And it was really something to watch it all unfold on YouTube. It was an awful lot of fun. Thanks to everyone for reaching out in Japan. That was a great trip. Larry, look, man, different societies. We'll never be like Japan. They'll never be like us. We shouldn't be like them as a society. We can't be. We're Americans. Can we just pick our shit up, though? Oh, my God. It's the cleanest country. Not in a napkin. Not a loose napkin blows off of a bar. Like you pick up your drink. The napkin was stuck to the water on your beverage, and then the wind takes your napkin away. Not in the entire country of Japan does that. Not a napkin blows across the street. So let's just clean shit up. And let's have better convenience stores with delicious egg salad sandwiches in them. My final word is Steph Curry has given us a career of unbelievable, unforgettable performances. What we saw from him in Game 3 was one of his best. Steph Curry just played one of his greatest basketball games ever, especially with the absence of Jimmy Butler. What the Warriors are doing right now, this is an awful lot of fun. I think the NBA's opening round has been an awful lot of fun. The Lakers are now on the brink. A lot of fun in the NBA. And Larry, I also cannot help but notice the San Francisco Giants just keep winning baseball games. And let me tell you, we are very close here to it's. If they don't swoon a lick in June, a summer of Buster Ball could be a really interesting show for us to cover and watch all year long. So the Giants are interesting. The Warriors are in the playoffs. They can take a commanding 3-1 lead over the Rockets tonight. The draft is in the rearview mirror. It's so good to be back here. You and I will be back at it again on Friday here on Wake Up, which, as we began the show with, we're global, Kruger. Global, baby. We're getting recognized over in Japan. So
everybody give a like and subscribe on your way out the door. I don't say that enough. I got to throw that more out, but hit like and subscribe to both channels on your way out the door. For Damon, I'm Larry. Have a great rest of your day. I'll be streaming again at 11. Damon, you'll be streaming again as well today. We got a lot going on, a lot of draft recap. Enjoy. Go Niners. Thanks for tuning in.